And now I'm pleased to introduce our next session, focusing on how to navigate media bias and strategies for independent digital alternatives. This will be moderated by Tom Hall, and with mainstream and social media platforms increasingly censoring Palestinian voices, documented by organizations like Hamle and Human Rights Watch, independent digital alternatives have become vital for truth-telling and resistance. Our panelists, Nima Akram from NewsCord, Michel Collon from Investig'Action, and Lama Nazeeh from Hamle will discuss the realities of how media bias, the impact of digital suppression, and innovative strategies for ensuring Palestinian narratives break through algorithmic and editorial barriers. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. As introduced, we're going to be talking about navigating media bias and strategies for digital alternatives. In a world where algorithms control our news feeds and tech billionaires who think democracy is overrated are consolidating ownership of legacy and modern media outlets, it has become increasingly difficult to separate fact from fiction and news from entertainment. How can independent media initiatives survive when mainstream infrastructure holds a monopoly on distribution? With us, of course, are Nima from Akram, from NewsCord. NewsCord is one of the original projects. You have no idea who I am. I run the incubator at Tech for Palestine. So NewsCord is NewsCord was actually one of the first projects that we incubated. We have about 100 projects in the incubator today. So really excited to have Nima here and Lama from Hamla. So Nima is a data scientist and founder of NewsCord, which previously was focused on being an AI platform for comparing media bias in news outlets, but has recently pivoted, which he can talk about more. And Lama is the Advocacy Manager at Hamla, which is the Arab Center for Advancement of Social Media, and she spearheads critical advocacy campaigns and research, including documenting digital censorship, platform algorithms, and corporate moderation policies to defend freedom of expression and digital safety across global tech platforms. So, without further ado, let's get into the questions. I'll start with Nima. Nima, you've approached the issue of media bias from a unique, data-driven perspective using AI. While AI is often criticized for reinforcing biases, NewsCord uses it to expose differences in coverage and tone across traditional outlets. How can independent platforms leverage technology like AI as a shield against media manipulation rather than a tool for it?
Yeah, so... okay. So, yeah, it's a really good question because AI has, now we've seen with the AI revolution, it's immediately been used for, so many evil things, such as, Lavender AI by Google, which was used to surveil and kind of create kill lists for the Zionist entity to use throughout the genocide. And that's just one of the many use cases that AI has been used for to kind of perpetrate genocide, perpetrate ethnic cleansing. But I do still think and stand firm on this that if we do not use the latest technologies, it already is not a level playing field. Already the cards are stacked against us. If we do not, of course, abiding by our own principles and building things as ethically as possible, if we do not use these latest technologies, I think that fight becomes even harder. So in terms of what we've built up, we've not used, for example, OpenAI, or in fact, actually we've used Thoro, who are, I think, in the building here, who are I guess, an ethical alternative to ChatGPT. And what we've done is we've kind of scoured the database of articles that we have collected over the genocide. So that would include articles from the BBC, from Deutsche Welle in Germany, just throughout, the Western world, all of the outlets that are covering or supposedly covering the genocide, and we've started to kind of quantify their biases. So, you get that weird feeling when you read a headline and you just can't put your finger on why this headline is so problematic. What we've done is we've kind of turned all of these problems into metrics. So how many times does the BBC name Israel as the perpetrator of an attack which killed however many people? And then we turn that into numbers and we compare it side by side. So, let's say the Flower Massacre, where Israel killed 100 Palestinians that were waiting to get food delivered from trucks. How many of them actually named Israel as the perpetrator? Same story. You get, for example, in this case, Al Jazeera names the perpetrator, BBC doesn't, CNN doesn't. So then we aggregate all of that. So we recently published a report where we show all of this side by side, and actually you'll find that the BBC, despite being shown as impartial, and that's kind of the whole branding, is that everyone hates us because we don't choose any sides. But actually, you've seen, we proved how systematic their bias is, how they have shielded Israel from any accountability, how they've sanitized, 3 years almost and counting of genocide. So yeah, I do strongly believe that AI and tech can be used to fight back. It's just a case of, we need to stay principled. I think there's something ironic about continuing to use Google's tech and OpenAI's tech, and claiming to fight for justice. We should try as much as possible to avoid these tech companies and actually propel the likes of Thora to and use their services and kind of work with them. And I think that's really a key piece of this is to kind of bring these tech companies up that are meant to be that are fighting for the right side.
Great, thank you, Nima. Okay, so Lama, you have extensively tracked and published research on what you call the platformicide of marginalized voices, specifically looking at how corporate content moderation policies suppress local narratives. From an advocacy perspective, what structural changes must global tech giants implement to ensure digital rights and unbiased moderation for communities under conflict?
Okay, that's the question, actually, our work and our struggle. So it's not going to be easy to answer it, but let me first say thank you for inviting me here, and thank you for having this important conference in the heart of Europe in Brussels, because it's very timely and important to start address tech and the relationship with Palestine and the occupation and genocide. When we talk about the platformicide, it's actually our work in Meta. We documented for the last 5 years all Meta's policies towards Palestine before October 7th and after October 7th. We have named it platformicide as a new term, and we will be publishing the report actually tomorrow from Utrecht. So tomorrow it will be online with all the details. But the platformicide, after a deep research and after with a lot of experts in the field, we have seen that Meta's policies toward Palestine is basically, it's not only silencing Palestinian, but silencing Palestinian and the erosion of a whole Palestinian community online. So we can say that Meta is the digital arm of genocide and apartheid in reality, because it is a machine that we have seen throughout more than 3,520 cases. I have remembered the name for you. 3,520 cases documented through our work in the 5 years to say that what's doing Meta to the Palestinian voices online is platformicide, is erasure, is a total erasure of Palestinians. What they do, if you want to go into deep more, you see the detail of these policies towards the Palestinians, whether it was in the West Bank or in Gaza or pro-Palestinian movements outside. So we can see clearly that there's the numbers can say it. I would say Meta basically out of 3 posts. Out of the 3, 2 of them, they don't know why their posts were removed. Like, for instance, if I ask you, have any of you posted something about Palestine, a flag, a child, something, and suddenly it vanished, or your reach collapsed suddenly, please raise your hand if any of you happened. Nice, wow. Keep your hand up. Did any of you knew what happened? Why? What rule you broke? Basically, did Meta told you what rule you broke? How many of you? None? You knew more or less? I will tell you what you violated because you're one of the few. One of the few, because if they told you so, it's always there is a policy called dangerous organization. That's the policy, right? Of course. Because if they didn't tell you, it means that policy. And this policy is basically, it was created in 2021 for, it's Meta's policy to counter terrorism, and they created it for ISIS and for like terrorism. And now they implement that lens, security lens, into Palestinian. And that's the basic, the Meta, how it deals with the Palestinian. It's not the rule, it's not the policy. Every Palestinian is actually a security threat, a terrorist online until it's proven otherwise. That's Meta's policy, actually, towards Palestine. For instance, when we speak about Shaheed, the word Shaheed is like one of the famous issue happened with Meta, like one of the main arguments we had to face with Meta. Shaheed, what does it mean, Shaheed? Martyr, but in reality, it means witness. In Arabic, the literal translation is witness. So, and it's an Arabic word to mourn, to grieve your child, to grieve your family, to grieve someone you lost in any context. So this word is actually flagged in Meta as terrorist, as brace for terrorism. So once any mother writes the word Shaheed for her child, the post gets vanished in 1 second. But the danger does not go here, because it's not like we cannot only express our freedom. The danger is here that we have a genocide. These people are documenting their lives. They're broadcasting live their death, their killing. The actual genocide is being live broadcasted. And Meta, what does it do? Meta restrict the live broadcast and even delete it online. It's not only deleting our story, it's deleting evidence. It's deleting evidence against an atrocity city, an atrocity country. And that's, for us, it's erasure for our testimony, it's erasure for our witness. And here we needed to step up and to say, okay, we need to protect our story, our narrative, our witness testimonies online as well. So, and we can see that after 7th of October, all the content moderation for the Palestinian, of course, increased. It was before 7th of October, 0.8% of the content moderated for the Palestinian. After the 7th of October, it raised to 23%. Out of all these accounts or posts were taken down or shadow banned or etc., very few actually were taken back, and Meta never admits why they took it down in the first place, and that's, for me, as a legal perspective, it's the ultimate legal definition of legality, and it's already granted in international law. Any person who violates any law needs to know which law they broke, as simple as it is. And Meta does not tell the Palestinian what law they broke, because they need to prove that they are human or civilized, maybe. I can go on if you want. Okay, because yeah, unlike Marwa, I'm a very morning person. So, but I lost now track. So, I lost.
Okay, thank you so much, Lama. All right. Oh, Michel has joined us. Do you want to grab a chair? This is perfect. Perfect timing, Michel. Welcome. While we're setting up this chair, just real quickly, Michel is an accomplished Belgian author, journalist, and media analyst. He is the founder and coordinator of Investig'Action, an independent, citizen-supported alternative information platform. So right up the alley of what we need here. So, Michel, You have spent decades tracking and analyzing war propaganda and mainstream media lies. In your experience, how has the transition from traditional print and broadcast media to digital spaces changed the way corporate and state actors shape public opinion? And what is the biggest hurdle for alternative networks like Investig'Action today?
Sorry for being late. I made a mistake and I thought it was starting at 11. To answer your question, it's the same and it's new. It's the same because there has always been a war propaganda. There is no war without propaganda. There is no war without manipulations. The Prime Minister of Great Britain said during the First World War, if people knew, the war would stop immediately, but they may not knew. So it's the same, and with the traditional media, we had already this battle. I started to analyze what I'm calling in French media mensonge, media lies, war propaganda, in 91 with the First World War against Iraq. It continued with Yugoslavia and so on. And it was always repeating the same war propaganda principles, as I often mention, but I think it's very necessary because it's a tool of analysis. First, principle of war propaganda, hide the economic interest. Say it's for noble ideals. Second, hide the history. Hide what the colonialists have done in this area to make the people poor and divided. Third, demonize with images. Present your adversary as a great danger, a monster. Fourth, exchange aggressor and the victim. Always present yourself as a victim or defending the victim. And five, monopolize the information. No debate. If there is a war, there are 2 or 3 versions. No, just the good version. That's the 5 war principles. What changed is in around 2000, the intervention of independent internet media. And this was because before you needed a lot of money to make a television or a daily or weekly paper, you needed billions. So it was very difficult for us. And then suddenly we got a free, instant media and you could share it. And Donald Rumsfeld was not stupid as his president, said after Abu Ghraib, we have a big problem. Now everybody can make pictures with his telephone, send emails when he was speaking, and the world knows what Rumsfeld didn't want to know, that the people know, Abu Ghraib, Guantanamo, and what WikiLeaks and Julian Assange have spread. And the conclusion of Rumsfeld was, so we have to consider internet as a war. And indeed, we had, I should say, easy years of expansions in the years 2000. We could expand, we could use Google, Facebook, YouTube. And since they were commercial, and that we made clash, we say this is a lie, this is a scandal, and so on, it was very good for their commerce, and they gave us an open field. And then, of course, this cannot continue, and the White House said, and the Pentagon, you have to control. You have to manipulate the algorithms so that we are free to express, but we will be in Google in page 27. You are not suppressed, you may speak, but you can reach the people who you know you already, but the others not. And on television, there are many good examples. We are banned from television. There may be no debate. And this, in regard with Palestine, in Gaza, with Lebanon, Iran, and so on, had a big influence, and we have to consider what's happening. I mean, the war of information is now an essential part of the war. If you read the NATO publications on their webpage, if you read the German Bundeswehr, and so on, they say openly, it's a war, and we have to manipulate the minds. Of course, to defend the people because the bad ones, are manipulating, so we have to preserve democracy and blah, blah. So this is definitely a war, and I don't want to be longer now on this, but I think our discussion should concentrate on that. How are we fighting this war? And I think we are weak, we are divided, we are fragmented, we do a good job, but it's much more necessary because now that Trump and the USA and so on got a big defeat, they say we have to start again. And actually, what we see in France, Great Britain, Germany, and other countries, it's these monopolies, these multinationals, see that there are social movements, youth in the street, and many people supporting Gaza. The incredibly change of the opinions about Israel, it's a very threat for them. And so, the last book we have published is Fascism That's Coming, in French, Le Fascisme qui vient, Comprendre et résister, Understand and Resist. I will present it there outside. It's very important because we see now really a war with brutal methods to stop us. 2 days ago, you had young students here protesting against the fact that the budget of the education are reduced, and it is very crucial, and they were beaten and attacked by the police, and that is what is coming in Europe. They have shown real fascism action around Gaza and others, and so they are very afraid of the popular reaction, and we have to organize really a strategy to defeat that. Sorry for being long.
Okay, thank you, Michel. So we are running a little bit late, so unfortunately I was going to do a last shared round, but we're not going to have time for that. Real quickly, I just wanted to add, before we wrap, that, thank you so much to all of you for coming to speak, of course, and this has been going on forever. So I read something called A Test of the News that Walter Lippmann and Charles Mertz wrote in 1920, and it was an analysis of the New York Times coverage of the Russian Revolution. It's 100 pages long, in granular detail, shows how they manufactured consent for the anti-communist sentiment in the US through the New York Times. And last week, I interviewed this woman, Robin Anderson, who wrote a book recently called The Complicit Lens, which is a very detailed analysis of how the media has been complicit in the genocide in Gaza over the last 2.5 years. So, it's a long thread and an ongoing fight. So, thank you all for.
To be honest, I just want to, because I didn't finish on Meta yet. I still feel angry at Meta, and I feel like I didn't say a lot of things on Meta. So I want another 5 minutes, very quickly, maybe 2 minutes even, just to say that Meta is we didn't speak about the Hebrew moderation. Like, we spoke about what they did to the Palestinian, but I didn't tell you what they do to the Israeli, to the Hebrew language moderation. Because apparently, very quickly, Tiba, very quickly. So apparently, very much, of course, in the Meta has failed also to moderate the Hebrew language. So whenever we say Shaheed, whenever we say free Palestine from the river to the sea, the Israeli, they say wipe up the Palestinian, kill the Palestinian animals. It actually stays online. It's even recommended to you. It's even going viral. And Meta in its policy, failed to moderate the Hebrew language. So Hebrew language stays online, and you need to know something very important as well, and that's very new since last year, that now Meta monetizes money, give money to settlers living in the settlements while banning it for Palestinians living in the West Bank or Gaza or East Jerusalem. So basically now the police account on Facebook is monetized by Meta, an official even government website. And settlers, Hilltop Youth, who doesn't know Hilltop Youth? They do every Saturday, it's their party to go and booger in Palestinian villages. They do it online, on Facebook, and it's monetized. I just want to finish to tell you that these incidents are not glitch, and these not incidents, these are systematic policies. Whenever you endure suppression or you are silenced online, please reach out to us, because we want to bring everything legally to Meta. We're not going to stay silent. We will keep fighting Meta till we are allowed for Palestinians to document our life and to say our narrative and to own it. That was my last intervention.
I will